Okay, hello everybody. It is time. The complete FNAF story. At least games 1 through 6, not including 7 through 500. But yeah, today we are going to do a little movie night. It's been a while since we've done something like this, gentlemen, but we are going to sit here, learn about FNAF, and we're going to learn about FNAF. It's going to be kind of nice because usually I'm like shitting my pants, freaking out about shitting my pants potentially. But instead, today, I get to sit back in this chair. I'm going to light a candle right now. And the candle's called Fireside Tales. And yes, I did waste money on it. Does it cause cancer? No, I don't know. But similar to the channel name. And I'm just excited I can finally fucking relax with the rest of you and figure out what the hell has been going on. I think some kids died, a bird has a redemption arc, and yeah, we got a good hour, 30 minutes here, so let's get this shit on the road. I mean, first, though, hello, Logan, welcome to the chat. Hello, Grim Guy, sup, gang. Thank you for sending that Discord link. Hello, Shipmaster. Hello, just here to watch. Hello, Questionable. How are all of you fuckers doing? Yeah, the FNAF lore up to where I am in present time. FNAF has one of the best lores in gaming history. I agree. I don't even know it yet. But without further ado, I actually really fuck with Wendigoon. I'm gonna sub to you, Wendigoon. Well, yeah, I'm gonna sub to you and like your video. Thanks for the content, buddy. Alright. You want to see something funny? Why did this video do well? No. Let's hurry up. Can you imagine? Summarize this video? That's fucked. Alright, without further ado, time to figure this shit out. Yeah, Wendigoon is so cool. I usually try to only sub on the channel to things where like analog horror stuff where I can see updates, but you know what? I bet Wendigoon's got some cool content we can watch in the future too. Anyway, let's go.
So, I'm doing the thing. Unlike most...
There's some music you want me to listen to on stream? I'm down. If it's the Living Tombstones or Join Us for a Bite or whatever that shit is, I'm down as fuck.
Of the horror series that I cover, I feel like today's horror series needs no introduction.
Yeah, it's
Five
goated.
Nights at Freddy's has quickly become one of the
Imagine not playing FNAF until 2025, LOL.
most popular video game IPs ever. Five Nights at Freddy's currently has 9 games in its main series, as well as over a dozen books written about it and countless fan games.
Books?
Not only that, but even people who hate the games have to admit
I didn't do the required reading. Fuck.
that it was probably the most impactful indie horror series of all time. And the craziest part about it is, to this day, no one really knows what happened. Like, if you play through the games, it's very clear that there is a story.
Cringe songs from your childhood? I love cringe songs from my childhood. You know what? I'm gonna cringe in adulthood too.
Happening in
Happily,
the background. However, the
'Cause now
gameplay
I
always
make
takes center
money,
stage.
so
And despite
that
the
means
countless
something.
Reddit threads and YouTube videos made on the topic, there still doesn't seem to be a clear answer of what happened in the games themselves. So,
Didn't MatPat figure this out so well that the creator Scott changed the lore because he thought MatPat's was better? I remember years ago seeing something like that, but you know what? Let me chill.
So I'm here to throw my hat in the ring and present to you what I believe to be the story of the Five Nights at Freddy's series. See, this video started out, I just wanted to cover the FNAF VHS tapes, because a couple people, specifically Squimpus McGrimpus, which is a funny name, has made fantastic horror set within the universe of Five Nights at Freddy's.
We tried watching this before I actually played in the games, which was probably a pretty bad idea, but I kind of want to do a follow-up stream. William Afton. I know who that is. Wait. Let me guess the lore. Evan? Evan? Foxy color. Michael? No, that doesn't really make sense. Is Bonnie blue or purple? Because Emily woman, yellow cheek. Alright, I'm gonna. Holy shit, this is all FNAF stuff. Bite of 87. I see that. Okay, anyway.
Freddy's,
I'm
but
never
taking
going to
its
finish
own
this shit.
story
I gotta
direction
relax.
with its own characters and events. However, after getting all of my research done for that, and then thinking how I would describe it to you all...
A large part is up to interpretation? Okay. Oh, also, I changed the... Oh, I found out apparently leaving my live stream VODs up as public instead of unlisted was fucking my channel. So by doing that, the delay time on the stream is now way better. So I should be able to see your messages within like 5 seconds. Technically. Let me know if that happens. Please listen to I Can't Fix You on Stream. I'll do it all at the end. I think all of it's copyright, but now that I'm unlisting the streams, I don't think it matters, right? No, I don't think it matters. I'll do it on stream.
It wouldn't make a lot of sense to someone who wasn't familiar with the Five Nights series. So I asked myself, what is the minimal amount of information I need to tell you about the Five Nights series in order for you to understand the VHS tapes? And that eventually devolved into me breaking down the entire story with all of the characters and major events. So I'm doing great. However, I'm only partially joking
I'm breaking
on
the
that
fourth wall,
because I do believe
Shipmaster.
that the Five Nights at Freddy's storyline
9 to
is a
10
very
seconds, I'll
interesting
take it.
story that deserves to be told. However, if you're familiar with the series,
I think Logan's real name is probably that guy from Twitch Name Last. On the government ID.
at all, then you probably know that the problem with telling the story is the story itself. See, the story of the game takes place across the first 7 entries. The game's in chronological order, or at least my chronological order.
Am I forgetting
because
one?
we can't even agree on when the games happened. But in my chronological order, it goes 4, 2, 1, 5.
I'm sorry, wait, I want to pay
It
attention
goes
to this.
4,
2,
1,
1,
5,
3,
3, 6, 7.
Oh, Ultimate Custom,
Yeah,
right.
and the reason
Oh,
that
that's
it's
canon?
so confusing for newcomers
I didn't
to the
think that was
series
canon.
to try to figure out what's going on is because anytime you search something like Five Nights at Freddy's Theory, you're greeted with videos from 5 years ago, whenever the 3rd game was out, so we didn't know the events in the 4th game were going to happen. But then the theories from the 4th game didn't know that the events of the 5th game were going to happen. So people kept trying to glue together a puzzle because all the pieces weren't out yet. But now I, in the future, with the privilege of hindsight, can put together the puzzle the way that I believe it was always meant to be viewed.
Please do.
And I'm going to do that in a kind of controversial way. I want this video to serve, again, not only as my take on the timeline for those out there who are a fan of the series, but also as an introductory point so that new people coming in are able to view all the information and better understand the story.
Hey, that's
and when
me.
you look at the entire series as one narrative, I think it becomes far more interesting and far more terrifying. So in order to achieve both of those ends, and again putting emphasis on the fact that this is a cool story that deserves to be told, I am simply not going to explain myself. At least not entirely explain myself. Like, several of the things on this board go against the majority of the community's interpretation of what happened. So whenever I have a real controversial take, I'm going to explain that. But like over here, I have one of William's children listed as being named Evan. In order for you to understand the story, I don't need to sit here for 10 minutes and tell you about...
He's purple guy. See, I know that.
We got...
They actually have books, though?
The name Evan because in the survival book, which is an accompany book for the games, they found a series of numbers on one page and then added them together by the page number at the bottom.
Ooh, you recommended this one because of the controversial takes. Also, Shipmaster, anytime a cat lays on you, it's awesome. I'm happy for you. Bingo. Okay,
and then
good.
went over
William
to
Afton,
a letter
Purple
grid
Guy.
and input those values and got the name Evan. Because if you're not familiar with the series, that's how we found out everything. And again, while I think stuff like that is cool, more people, at least currently, are focused on if his name's Evan or not, rather than the entire plot and story of what happened. And I think that the latter is far more interesting. So I know this has been a long introduction, but there's a lot to explain. As always, there's going to be timestamps in the description for what I'm describing, but I'm going to go through the timeline, or my opinion of the timeline, for the Five Nights at Freddy's video game series, as well as talk about the characters. And then from there, we will begin talking about the VHS tapes and the other YouTube horror shorts based around Five Nights at Freddy's, because I think they're really cool.
But
and
isn't
if
that
any of
not,
this sounds cool to you,
isn't it not
stick around
canon,
after
though?
the ad, as we're going to get into pretty much the entirety of the Five Nights at Freddy's series. But before you listen to me ramble for an absurd length of time, let's make sure you're listening the right way with today's sponsor, Raycon Ear.
Get your bag, Wendigoon, but get it without me.
Get into it, but as always, thank you for watching. The first thing to understand about the Five Nights at Freddy's series is that at its core, it's the story of two people. And those two people are William Afton and Henry Emily. Henry and William were business partners, and they went in as partners together on a new branch of children's entertainment. This new style of children's entertainment would be demonstrated on their first business venture together, a restaurant known as Fredbear's Family Diner. With later entries of the series, as many people have pointed out, you could think of the restaurants as a sort of Chuck E. Cheese establishment. The kind of places that would have singing animatronics, as well as arcade games and pizza parties for children of all ages. However, at least in the beginning, Fredbear's wasn't like that. It was a much smaller establishment that boasted two animatronics. The down-to-earth, homey nature of it is even present in the name of Fredbear's Family Diner. It certainly seems like a passion project, not only in the name and
so it's like starting a
the
food truck, but in the 80s or
business,
70s.
but also in the attitudes of the two owners. From everything we see later in the series, it seems like Henry was the business and managerial side of the partnership, while William was more interested in the day-to-day operations and specifically the construction of the animatronics.
Okay, I'm getting distracted. I don't know why I'm thinking this right now, but I look really similar to Wendigoon. Like, it's actually off-putting. You know what, never mind. Continue.
What made these animatronics unique, and the thing that set their business apart from other competitors, was the addition of something William dubbed as spring lock suits. The core idea behind a spring lock suit is that it is initially a normal animatronic.
It's that thing
However,
you kill
if someone
people with.
were to twist the gear on the back of the
Spring
costume,
Bonnie.
the animatronic parts would slip to the sides and allow a worker to step inside of the animatronic itself and use it as a costume. Whereas at other establishments, the children would see an animatronic on stage and then a worker would come out to serve them pizza in a kind of dollar store mascot version of the costume. At Fredbear's
more intelligent version of me.
Family Diner,
Thank you.
They could watch the animatronics get off stage themselves and come play with the kids. It seems like in the beginning that was part of the goal for William, to keep the magic alive in the mind of a child. And in the beginning, it seems that they had such humble beginnings that William and Henry were the people running the costumes themselves. Despite being owners, they would take the time to step into their own respective spring lock suits and go play and entertain the children. Henry would pilot the restaurant's namesake,
Golden
the
Freddy
suit itself, whereas William would slip into the secondary mascot of the business, a golden rabbit costume, which would later be known to the community as Spring Bonnie. Perhaps part of this dedication to the project came in the form of their own children. William having 3 children himself, Elizabeth, Michael, and Evan, and Henry having
that
one daughter by the
crybaby-ass
name of
guy.
Charlie.
I remember that
I know
guy.
that in the books it mentions Henry has a son as well.
Then who the fuck is
he's never
Emily?
mentioned anywhere in the games. So again, I'm just talking the games. He doesn't exist up here. Something that I want to mention really quick on this timeline is if an event is inside of a red box, that is a definite year that that event happened.
Okay.
There's not a lot of surefire times.
Bite of 87 is a pretty...
So the few that you see with the red box are times we know
kind
this
of a
happened
given.
on this date. The blue boxes are more so guesstimates. In other words, the thing I'm about to talk about says 1980, but it could have also been 81 or late 70s, or the year doesn't really matter. 1980 is just a guess. Looking at the timeline, we can see that William and Henry started Fredbear's Family Diner around 1970. And then, thanks in no small part to the dedication of the owners themselves, as well as the invention of spring lock suits.
Oh, Emily is Henry's last name. Henry Emily is insane. That makes sense, though.
A decade later, they are able to expand their brand, as around 1980, William opens Afton Robotics, and William and Henry continue to expand the business itself with Fazbear Entertainment, which becomes a sort of industrial chain of Freddy Fazbear restaurants. Things were going great.
I never knew it was a chain.
Henry was continuing to manage the brand as it was expanding.
I mean, I guess
William
that's why there's a
continued to
sister
create
location.
More odd and interesting robotic figures. One of these inventions that we see in the games is a small Fredbear plush that seems to have a camera inside of it, as well as a series of animatronics later dubbed Funtime animatronics that it seems William was building during this time. Everything was going great, and it seemed that nothing would stop the pair from accomplishing great things in the realm of children's entertainment. That was,
say 2030
was until the accident that happened in 1983. For whatever reason, it seems that Evan was particularly terrified of the animatronics his father was building. And no one's really certain why. People who have gathered information from the books have speculated that perhaps William was purposefully making his child afraid of the animatronics because William knew that they were dangerous. Because, you know, animatronic suits that have like wires and gears holding the animatronic pieces from...
Isn't William like a child murderer though? Where does he start doing that?
Flying back into place and impaling you, it's called foreshadowing, would be dangerous to go around, especially if William is building them in his house. From what we see in future games, it even seems that William had put cameras throughout his house so that while he was working on his animatronics, he could monitor exactly what his son was doing. In the meantime, Evan's older brother, Michael, began to torment Evan over his fear of these creatures. See, at this point, the brand had extended from not only Fredbear's Family Diner, but there was also Fredbear and Friends, and there were several other mascots that would stand on stage along with Fredbear. One of these was a character by the name of Foxy. So, Michael would wear a Foxy mask and begin tormenting his brother because he thought it was funny. William didn't seem to mind this, perhaps even encouraging it, as he saw it as another way to keep his son safe. The events of Five Nights at Freddy's 4, which again according to me is the earliest game in the timeline, followed the nightmares of young Evan Afton. The reason the animatronics look so over-the-top creepy and terrifying
and are called Nightmare Foxy, Freddy, Bonnie, and Chica.
These are the nightmare imaginations of a young child who's afraid of his father's creations. And Evan is spending these sleepless nights trying to evade these creatures of his own imagination.
That was such a scary-ass game.
Whenever Afton and his family go to Fredbear's Family Diner. While there, Michael and his friends, all wearing the mascots' faces, begin to torment Evan and make him get closer and closer.
How old are these kids? Why are they jacked? I don't remember them being so jacked.
To the animatronics themselves. Until Michael makes a joke that Evan wants to give Fredbear a kiss, to which the boys put...
Whoa, your gaming chair is a massage pillow? Where the fuck did you get that? That's awesome.
Evan into Fredbear's mouth, and whenever the animatronic bites
the bite of 87? Or wait, no, that's... RIP.
Evan doesn't die yet, at least not immediately.
Really?
His family rushes him to the hospital where he remains comatose for the next couple days. In the final levels of Five Nights at Freddy's 4, it's possible when looking back at the bedside to see things like a hospital IV bag or flower pot. Not only that, but the
bite of
nightmares
83.
within the final nights
That's
of
what
Five Nights at Freddy's 4 transition from being the general different animatronics from the restaurant to just nightmarish apparitions of Fredbear himself. While Evan is lying in a hospital bed, we hear Michael tell Evan that he's sorry and ask for his forgiveness. Until the Fredbear plush itself begins to speak to Evan. As established earlier, this is one of William Afton's camera plushies, so it's safe to assume that this is William speaking to his son. In his final moments, we hear William say that it's going to be okay and that he's going to put Evan back together before everything fades out and Evan seemingly passes away. Now, if you're a big aficionado of the series, you may disagree with that placement in the story. However, this, as well as the events that happen directly afterwards, are so debated, and there's so many different options of when this happened.
I can see the security footage. That was the ending I missed? Okay, good to know. Good to know. Sheesh, and they just raised the price of Game Pass 2 Shipmaster. I'm about to cancel it low-key.
Or this happened before this, or blah blah blah, But again, as a story, this makes the most sense to me as the catalyst that began everything.
Yeah,
William, a
I
man who
agree.
wanted to entertain children and managed to do so for decades, began his mad descent when one of his children used one of William's own creations to kill his other child. And then in that father's desperation, he begins experiments and procedures to try to maintain the soul of a child.
How does
See,
one
that's where
do
the horror
that?
comes from. For those of you who may have not known anything else about the Five Nights at Freddy's games, you've probably heard it has to do with dead children possessing animatronics. And while the rules of it aren't explicitly laid clear, at least not in the video games themselves, it seems that if a child is killed by an animatronic or a piece of their body is put into that animatronic after death, that their soul possesses the animatronic itself. You can essentially think of it as a haunt or a
Okay.
haunted house. If someone dies in a derelict mansion, then they haunt that derelict mansion. If someone dies and their body is put inside of an animatronic, then their spirit possesses that animatronic. And that is exactly what happens here. While we do not know the details of how or why or what happened, either because Fredbear killed Evan or potentially afterwards, William put pieces or all of Evan's body into Fredbear, Evan's spirit possessed the Fredbear animatronic. See, now the color coding makes sense. This wasn't just
so
a
he's Golden
Sunday school
Freddy?
teacher gimmick to make the
I
letters
thought he
look
was
cool,
like
but
Freddy
had a
Freddy.
purpose, because now Evan is the spirit of Fredbear. I don't know if you can see the Fredbear good. If I turn the lights off, the reflection isn't there. So yeah, Fredbear is Evan, at least for now. I'm not sure how, perhaps just being around Fredbear and seeing signs that his child was still inside of the suit, or maybe even some kind of weird science that William applied to the suit itself.
The stream is stuttering? Hold on. Let me take a peek. Let's look under the hood here. What do we think? It says the stream's healthy. That's strange. Let me know if it keeps doing that.
Whenever he made it. Either way, it seems that William figured out his son Evan was inside of the Fredbear suit. As you could imagine, not only the death of William's child, but now his child being trapped in a suit of his own invention changed William's life forever. It seems that from here, William wanted to better understand what had happened to Evan.
Oh, and
So he
that's why
began to
he's a
modify
child
the
murderer.
aforementioned Funtime animatronics with the express purpose of trapping another child so
Damn.
that he could figure out how the whole soul possession works.
Maybe just
His
a coincidence?
primary contender
Okay.
in this being an animatronic known as Circus Baby.
Circus Baby.
was specifically designed with a giant claw inside of its chest cavity, as well as sensors that would always calculate and determine how many people were currently in the room. He did this with the intent of Circus Baby managing to get a child alone all by themselves so that its claw could then come out and grab the child before dragging it into its chest cavity to be killed.
Well, that's not
She
fucked
can
up.
dance. She can sing. She's equipped with a built-in helium tank for inflating balloons right at her fingertips. She can take song requests. She can even dispense ice cream.
With all due respect, those aren't the design choices we were curious about, Mr. Afton.
This is, at least according to my timeline, the beginning of William's evil and murderous intent. It seems that the death of his
think?
own child pushed William to such extreme lengths that he was now willing to kill another kid in order to either see what happened to his son or perhaps even find a way to bring him back. During the construction of Circus Baby, William's daughter Elizabeth was in love with it, probably because it was an animatronic that looked like a young girl and had the ability to serve ice cream. On the opening day of a new Freddy Fazbear sister location known as Circus Baby's Pizza
Throwback.
World, Elizabeth managed to get away from her father and go see Circus Baby all by herself. The Circus Baby animatronic, calculating
Get that off
Elizabeth
my
was the
screen. I
only
hate
one in the
that
room,
game.
put out a piece of ice cream to serve her before grabbing her and bringing her into
Oh,
her
this was the
chest,
part I never got
which
to
Elizabeth
see.
was killed.
Did you know that I was on stage once?
All that pain and
It
suffering
wasn't
just for
very
that.
long, only one day.
Holy
I
shit.
would always count the children.
I feel like
I'm
a
not sure
World War
why.
II vet hearing
I
fireworks
was
on the 4th
always
of
acutely
July.
aware of how many there were in the room with me. There were 4, then 3, then 2, then 1. Something happened when there was 1. A little girl standing by herself. I was no longer myself, and I stopped singing. My stomach opened, and there was ice cream. I couldn't move, at least, not until she stepped closer. There was screaming for a moment, but only for a moment. I still hear her sometimes.
Damn.
Why did that happen?
I don't know, brother.
Exactly how William reacted to this.
Wait,
Although,
so is the animatronic the dead child possessing it, or its own entity? Because that sounded like Circus Baby and Elizabeth are 2 separate people.
I imagine this is
Interesting.
never what he wanted.
He'll probably talk
In
about
Five
that
Nights
eventually.
at Freddy's 5, also known as Sister Location, Elizabeth mentions many times that her father tried to keep her away, and she specifically went against his will in order to go see Circus Baby by herself. It seems that he didn't want Circus Baby to kill his daughter Elizabeth, however that's exactly what happened. Despite this, however, his plan seemed to work, and the soul of Elizabeth began to possess the animatronic known as Circus Baby. Now, whenever Evan died, it was simply seen as an accident. While Michael and his friends caused the death of Evan, they were children as well, and it could be seen as a bullying incident gone wrong. However, when Elizabeth disappeared, that raised a lot more questions. We're told in the games that the sister location known as Circus Baby's Pizza World, again the place where Elizabeth was killed by Circus Baby, we are told that it was closed due to gas leaks. This obviously being a cover-up for this event here. However, there is no way this could have happened without Henry knowing. He was essentially the acting CEO of
I forgot
Fazbear's
he exists.
Entertainment, and there's no way that they would close
Right,
down
Henry.
the brand new location on the first day due to gas leaks without him knowing it.
It's both, kinda, like dying without realizing you're dead. Okay, I can... Yeah, so they're kind of fusing. Yeah, I think I get it.
Better. What I think happened, and this is supported by things that happened shortly after this, is that Henry found out what William was up to. Whenever William sees that Henry has created a robot whose sole purpose is to bring in children and then kill them, it probably raised a lot of red flags. We're never told this in game, but perhaps at the same time, Henry also saw that William was trying to rebuild his son Evan, or put Evan back into the Fredbear costume, or whatever I will put you back together means. Either way, Henry was so disgusted, at least by what he saw with Circus Baby, that he kicked William out of the company.
Oh,
Potentially,
so he
Henry
knew.
never alerted the authorities because, for one, him and William had been friends for at least 10 years.
Dude, you think
and
you would,
two,
like, tell him
William's
now?
actions has caused the death of his own daughter. So perhaps Henry saw that as punishment enough. Either way, Henry didn't alert the authorities, but he did kick William out of the business. There is a scene within a minigame in Five Nights at Freddy's 6, also known as Pizzeria Simulator. The minigame's called Midnight Motorist, and there is a part in it whenever you're playing as a little sprite that is believed to be William Afton. Again, everything in this entire series is entirely circumstantial. And while playing as William Afton,
Dude,
you
putting
walk
this
up
video
to a
together
building
had to be
called
so
Junior's.
infuriating.
Now, a place called Junior's is never mentioned anywhere else in the series. However, general consensus is that Junior's is the first offshoot location of Fredbear's Family Diner, which is a place known as Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. So whenever William goes to the door of Freddy Fazbear's Pizza, the worker at the front door says, "You know you can't be here. Don't make this any harder than it has to be."
I get
Which means the
it.
person at the front door, either Henry
It's all
or
coming
an employee
together
of
now.
Henry, recognizes William and says, "You can't be here. Don't make this worse than it has to be." A lot of people say that minigame takes place during the events of Five Nights at Freddy's 2. However, I don't agree due to something I'll mention in a minute. In the rest
Okay.
of that Midnight Motorist minigame, it seems that William goes home, to
I
which
remember
someone
this.
on the couch
Yeah.
tells him, quote, "Leave him alone, he's had a rough day." Before William goes to someone's room, yells at them to let him in, before he walks outside and sees that whoever was in the room broke the window and went to, quote, "that place again." Now, this is all speculation because most of the stuff in this series is speculation. What are you going to do? It seems to me
Watch a video
like this
summarizing
person
it.
sitting on the couch is probably
And then
William's
take it all as
wife.
canon.
And although she's never seen in the series again, that's the only character that can make sense here. And the child that he is berating is his only surviving child, Michael. Michael is now
Kinda
terrified
rude.
by his father and remorseful for the actions that he himself committed that led to the death of Evan. Perhaps whenever William says that Michael is going to that place again, he's referencing Freddy Fazbear's Pizzeria because maybe Michael's trying to figure out what happened to his sister. Like I said, that was speculation, but it makes the most sense to me. The core takeaway from it is that William is now being kicked out of the locations that he helped create by his business partner, Henry. And while Henry was in his right to do so, I mean, he found William with a child scooping animatronic that he built. Like, you can't let that guy keep working around children.
Yeah,
Henry
right.
becomes paranoid of the idea that William will try to retaliate. During this time, William makes
I'd be
a
worried
new
about that.
animatronic. An animatronic known as
Wait, did it just stutter on purpose? Oh, Henry, not William. Okay.
animatronic. Will
Let
try
me-
to
let me
retaliate.
rewatch
During
that,
this time,
just to be
William
safe.
makes a new animatronic.
Henry makes an animatronic. Okay.
An animatronic known as the marionette or just the puppet. This puppet is designed for the express purpose of protecting Henry's daughter Charlotte, also known as Charlie. One day, William, perhaps in the midst of a rage towards his business partner Henry, William decides that he is going to take from Henry what William had accidentally taken from himself. Again, as we can see
And
from many games
child
placed
murderer.
throughout the video game series, one day Charlie is locked outside, to which William Afton pulls up in his vehicle, kills the young child before
Rip.
driving away and leaving her body in an alley. Now,
That's actually
normally,
crazy.
the marionette puppet would have stopped
It's
this
actually
from
fucking
happening, as
wild.
its entire purpose is to follow Charlie around and protect
I remember
her.
this minigame
However, during
too.
this event, it seems that the puppet was trapped and unable to get to Charlie until it was too late.
Rip.
Eventually, the puppet works its way outside in
Oh,
order
and it
to find the young
breaks,
girl,
yeah.
to which whenever the puppet gets there, the deed has already been done. The
That's
puppet,
sad.
unable to do anything else, lies down next to Charlie, to which it seems through whatever supernatural means is filled throughout this narrative, the spirit of Charlie possesses the puppet. Perhaps William killed Charlie outside that day because it was just a moment of opportunity, or
Rip.
perhaps he did it away from the animatronics because at this point, two
Controversial opinion. I don't think you should kill children. Yeah, I said it.
of his own children had been killed in the proximity of an animatronic, and their soul had been taken into it. And perhaps William killed Charlie outside in order to prevent her from possessing an animatronic. However, despite his efforts, as noted here, the spirit of Charlie now possesses the marionette puppet. I like the idea of Charlie being the first murder victim of William, not only because it matches the story more and it makes the first intentional kill more purposeful, but in the events that follow,
Yeah, it's pretty fucked
the
up.
animatronics are only possessed because the puppet attaches that spirit to each animatronic. So in order
Oh.
for any of the victims to possess future animatronics, the puppet has to be dead first. Not only that, but a line that Henry says in Pizzeria Simulator heavily implies that his child was the first victim of William's killing spree.
Not until I undo what he has done and heal this wound.
Why do I not
A wound
remember
first
this?
inflicted on me, but then one that I let bleed out to cause all of this.
So due to Charlie's
I
death,
think I was too
the
hyped
restaurant
about
is
beating
shut
the
down.
game.
A couple years later, it reopens as the new and improved Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. I think it is shortly after the reopening of Freddy Fazbear's Pizza that the missing children's incident occurs. For those that don't know, there is a mention in the first Five Nights at Freddy's game, and at the time this was the only lore for the overall series that we ever got, in which a newspaper clipping says that 5 children went missing at Freddy Fazbear's Pizza, and that's the reason it got shut down. That Freddy Fazbear's Pizza that got
smells what?
Pizza, and that's
read
the
that.
reason it got shut down.
Oh,
that
okay.
Freddy Fazbear's Pizza that got shut down because 5 children went missing is the current pizza place.
Oh, I
that
didn't
I'm
hear it.
talking
It's a
about
secret
in the
file. That would
timeline.
make sense.
And I'll pull the timeline back up in a second to look at, but I want to add the final names to this board first. But in short, we have the original Fredbear's Family Diner.
Okay.
And then we have some restaurants like Circus Baby's Pizza World that open then get closed, and maybe some other projects that we're not told about in the series. But after Fredbear's, we get Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. Charlie is killed outside of it, so it is shut down and now reopened. It is shortly
Respect.
after this reopening, I think the missing children's incident occurs, and here's why. Whenever you are playing as the security guard, a man by the name of Jeremy Fitzgerald in Five Nights at Freddy's 2, Phone Guy, or the guy who is giving you the
Phone
instructional
Guy.
messages over the phone, says that you are at the new
love Phone Guy.
reopened Freddy Fazbear's Pizza.
Hello and welcome to your new summer job at the new and improved Freddy Fazbear's Pizza.
And over the course of that week, he says that an investigation is taking place.
Okay, so just to update you, there's been somewhat of an investigation going on. We may end up having to close for a few days. I don't know.
Now, we know that the events of Five Nights at Freddy's 2, that week that you're playing as the security guard, take place in 1987. Most people say that the missing children's incident happened before the old restaurant was ever shut down, or in other words, around the
Okay.
same time that Charlie was killed. However, that
Hey,
wouldn't
nobody,
make
how you doing,
sense
man?
if it's a current
going pretty
ongoing
good.
investigation. Think about it. If the children disappeared in 1985 and all that time had passed, why would the investigation now just be starting in 1987? We know that the investigation is not over the bite of 87 because that happens at the end of the work week. Also, to make sure everyone's still in the loop, in the original Five Nights at Freddy's game, which takes place after the events of Five Nights at Freddy's 2.
I'm so
I know
locked
there's
in
prequels and
right
sequels
now.
all over the place.
It's all coming
the phone
together.
guy in the first game mentions that the old location, the location from Five Nights at Freddy's 2, was shut down due to something known as the bite of 87, in which an animatronic bit out someone's frontal lobe.
Bit out doesn't sound right.
During the day too, but then there was the bite of.
Do you know
87.
FNAF lore? I know 31 minutes and 1 second of FNAF lore, and by the end of today, I'm going to know 1 hour and 21 minutes of FNAF lore.
Yeah.
So yes and no,
It's
but only up to
amazing
game
that human body
6.
can live without the frontal lobe, you know?
Yeah.
So a lot of people say, oh, well, the investigation that's
So I guess
happening
no.
over the course of Five Nights at Freddy's 2 is the bite of 87. But like I said, that happens to Jeremy Fitzgerald, the security guard you play as in Five Nights at Freddy's 2, at the end of the work week. So what is the investigation happening over the course of the week itself? Well, on the 4th night in Five Nights at Freddy's 2, the phone guy says there is an investigation happening. On the 5th night, he says that the business is on lockdown. And then finally, on the 6th night, he says that you're not even supposed to be here. Someone used one of the yellow suits in the back, and now none of the animatronics are acting right.
Okay,
Damn.
so just to update you, there's been somewhat of an investigation going on.
Yes,
we may
and
have
cool
to
music
close
videos.
for
I did not
a few
forget about
days.
that.
I don't- Hey, keep a close eye on things tonight, okay? From what I understand, the building is on lockdown. No one is allowed in or out, you know, especially concerning any previous employees.
Oh.
Didn't you get the memo? The place is closed down, at least for a while. Someone used one of the suits. We had a spare in the back, a yellow one. Someone used it. Now none of them are acting right.
We find out in later installments that what had happened
He's not
during this
really
time
dead. I
is
love
William
that
Afton
minigame.
donned his spring
Was
bunny
so
or
lit.
golden bunny suit that he used to wear back at Fredbear's.
Hey, this happened in the
before
movie.
luring children into the back
I
room
think.
and killing them one by one. We don't know William's motives for doing this. Perhaps he was doing it to try to experiment
He
on
could
the
just be
same
an asshole.
conditions that caused
Controversial
two of his children
take.
to possess animatronics, or perhaps it was just an evil bloodlust that set in
Yes,
after the now
he
death
is
of 3
an
children in his
asshole.
life, one of them directly murdered by him. Either way, 5 children were killed, and it seems that in order to cover his tracks, William stuffed their bodies inside of the animatronics in the building itself.
Dun, dun,
I believe
dun.
that this missing children's incident, or in other words, the murder of 5 children, occurred immediately before Five Nights at Freddy's 2. And that is the investigation Phone Guy's referring to which at the end of the week he says someone wore one of the yellow suits and now none of the animatronics are acting right.
I think
It's
that
even
makes sense.
mentioned at this Five Nights at Freddy's 2 that they trashed the old animatronics and got brand new ones in, known as the toy animatronics. And those old ones seem to be a perfect place to store the bodies of his victims. Remember earlier how I said the Midnight Motorist minigame is believed by most to occur during Five Nights at Freddy's 2? And the
Okay.
reason William isn't allowed back into the building is because he would have just murdered 5 children? Well, the reason I don't think that's the case is because if you go all the way back to the first game, and again, read the newspaper clipping about the missing children's incident, it says that the suspect who wore the costume has been identified and apprehended. Of course, he was never convicted because they couldn't find the bodies. I don't know why they never checked the rigging animatronics, but that's besides the point. So if Midnight Motorist takes place during the investigation of
Someone
the
crashed a Minecraft SMP with a bunch of bees. That'd be funny.
children that William had murdered, which keep in mind, during the course of Five Nights at Freddy's 2, all happened in the span of about a week. There is
He's
no
kinda
way
like a
William would have
1920s
got to the
detective,
pizza
like in a
restaurant
black and white
been turned
movie.
away because he currently would have been in police custody. And also, I know this is being like super hypercritical of specific story moments, which doesn't always work, but I still think it's kind of weird. If William had just murdered 5 children, and this isn't like debatable if he murdered 5 children, this is he was identified and arrested, and they just can't find the bodies to convict him. But it's known
They
by everyone around
arrested
that William
him?
killed those kids. I think him, when he's supposed to be in police custody, coming to the door of the restaurant, and then the bouncer being like, "Hey, you shouldn't be around here." Doesn't that seem like a very low power push off to a guy who just murdered 5 kids in your restaurant? That
Yeah,
sounds much more
yeah, it
like
does.
William was doing some shady stuff and accidentally killed his own daughter and got kicked out. Not he murdered 5 kids like last week. And again, he should be at police custody at this point. Midnight Motorist happens before the death of Charlie, not during
Okay.
Five Nights at Freddy's 2. You can fight me about it. We
Not
find out
most
these
critical.
names from a point later in the series, but the 5 children who were killed by William Afton during the incident were Gabriel, Fritz, Susie, Jeremy, and Cassidy. And those children were placed into the bodies and subsequently possessed Freddy, Foxy, Chica, Bonnie, and Fredbear, respectively.
Okay.
Now, it's not known if
So
William
those are
put
the
bodies into the
OGs.
animatronics,
Okay.
or that's indicated in the puppet minigames throughout the series, that the puppet, now being possessed by Charlie, went through and attached each of those children to the animatronics themselves. Or more specifically, we know that the puppet was responsible for giving life to these kids.
I remember
we
that
don't know
too.
if that means some more spiritual or metaphorical action, or if the puppet took the murder victims and placed them inside of the animatronics. Either way, the bodies couldn't be found because the bodies of the children were inside of the animatronics themselves. Again, we don't know if the puppet or William did that. Like I said, according to my timeline, this happens immediately before the events of Five Nights at Freddy's 2. So the reason that the animatronics are trying to kill the security guard Jeremy Fitzgerald in that game is because 5 of them are possessed by the spirits of children murdered by William Afton. As we see in several of the flashback minigames, William Afton is depicted as a purple figure, also known as Purple Guy,
Purple Guy.
wearing a security badge.
Yeah, I knew
so it's
that.
more than
Come
likely
on.
that William gained access to the restaurant and was able to kill these kids and
Rip.
don the Spring Bonnie suit
Rip.
because he pretended to be a security guard and wore the purple security guard vest. This would explain why 5 children who have recently been killed try to kill the first person they see wearing a purple security uniform. The Phone Guy phone calls that I've mentioned are pretty much the only way that the character gets any world or lore relevance for the first couple games. At the
Yeah,
end of the Night
yeah,
6
I
phone
agree.
call, Phone Guy tells Jeremy, again the security guard that you're playing as, that
So I hate Susie. No, Susie and I made up after Universal Horror Nights. Now I have a Chica plush. I don't. Well, let's see. The 80s or 90s. So Susie is like a 30-year-old adult. Yeah,
that he
there
has
we go.
one job left to do before the restaurant
No,
closes
we
down
made
for a
up.
while.
We had
that
some
job
beef,
is
but
he
we're
has
good
to
now.
watch over a children's birthday party.
We'll see if that changes in the VR.
the next day, and make sure he wears his purple security uniform and stand very close to the animatronics.
We have one more event scheduled for tomorrow, a birthday. You'll be on day shift. Wear your uniform, stay close to the animatronics, and make sure they don't hurt anyone.
This causes the event on the final day of
Ew,
the
I
restaurant's
just heard
opening,
Balloon
known
Boy.
as the Bite of 87, in which one of the animatronics bites Jeremy Fitzgerald, ripping out his frontal lobe. This, as you can imagine, was
Susie's
very
now
bad
gang.
PR for the company,
La
and Freddy
Familia.
Fazbear's Pizza shut down at the time for good. And then on the 7th night, the final night that the original Freddy Fazbear's Pizza is opened, a new security guard comes in to work only one night by the name of Fritz Smith. Fritz is never mentioned anywhere else in the timeline, although it's weird that in a restaurant
So he
where
died?
people are actively dying due to the animatronics, some random guy would come in to work one night. For reasons I'm
Maybe he
going to
just broke.
explain later, I believe Fritz Smith is an alias
Went from
for
hating to obsession. Yeah, let's say that.
Michael Afton, who is now out and trying to find answers to his father's
Oh,
wrongdoings.
right. Michael
The last
would
thing I wanna
still be
mention before I put the
alive.
timeline back up is that if you'll
Yeah.
notice here, Cassidy is said to possess Fredbear. But if you'll also look up here, Evan is also possessing Fredbear.
Yeah, I don't
All
get
the
it.
animatronics in the series that have been possessed can move around on their own free will except for Fredbear. The primary belief for this is,
Okay.
if you'll remember, the Fredbear costume is both a costume and an animatronic. So if you were to have it set on costume mode and just laying in a corner and someone's to possess that, they can't move and are essentially stuck inside of a decrepit mascot uniform. Whereas
Rip.
all these other ones who are possessed are functioning animatronics and are able to move about on their own free will. In the Five Nights at Freddy's survival logbook, yes, that's a real phrase I just said out loud. Without going into all the specifics, it seems that there is a conversation taking place between
It's
two hidden
me.
authors on the pages themselves. For example, there will be faded
What the
text
fuck?
asking, "Do
This
you
is
remember your
sick.
name?" and then responses written in the text elsewhere in the book. It's two people having a conversation with
can't
each
buy
other,
that. I
and
can't.
without going into the nitty-gritty of how this was determined, because again, it was a lot. By the way, I didn't mention this enough
Glitch
earlier.
trap
Big shout out
around.
to Game Theory, also known
Mad
as
Pat.
Like, I understand he has also done the thing I mentioned where people get hyper-focused on the details and forget the story, but none of this would be possible without the amount of work and research that guy and his community has done to figure out
Goated.
all of this information, to the point where
Rest
a lot
in
of the
peace,
flippant
Matt
facts that
Pat.
I'm
You'll
giving
be
you
missed.
wouldn't be known if it wasn't for his videos. So gotta respect your forerunners that came before you. So again, thank you, Matt Pat. But
Shoulders
due to
of
work mostly
giants,
done by
yeah.
him, it is determined that there are two souls possessing the Fredbear animatronic. These two souls being Cassidy and Evan, as mentioned earlier. And also, they can't move. They're just stuck in a suit talking to each other. So that's,
Rip.
you know, pretty sad. All right,
Yeah,
so
it's
just to
pretty
recap
ass.
everyone to make sure we're on the same page. 1970, William and Henry start Fredbear's Family Diner. In the
Okay.
80s, the business expands into several restaurants and more
Indeed.
of a corporate entity. In 1983 is when the events of FNAF 4 happened,
Okay.
where Michael kills Evan using the mouth of the Fredbear animatronic,
Bite
and
of
all of the
83.
nightmares that Evan have take place during that time. Because of this, William builds the Circus Baby animatronic with the intention to kill and kidnap a child. And I say both in 1983, they were probably in the same year, maybe 1984, whatever. So in 1983, Circus Baby kills Elizabeth. And shortly after that, the events of Midnight Motorist take place, where Henry kicks William out of the business. This causes William to get angry and Henry to get paranoid. So Henry builds the puppet to protect Charlie, or Charlotte as I have said here, to which William then kills Charlie, and the puppet is possessed by the spirit of Charlie. Because of that,
Okay.
Fredbear and Friends shuts down, and it's later reopened probably around 1985, sometime between 85 and 87,
Yeah.
and it's reopened and rebranded as Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. New
Woohoo.
animatronics are brought in to take the place of the old ones. This is around the same time that the missing children's incident occurs, right before Five
I had a banana and I ran out. What are you guys snacking on, though?
Nights at Freddy's 2, so the bodies of the children from the missing children incident, either by William or the puppet, are stuffed into the old animatronics, which leads directly into the events of Five Nights at Freddy's 2. At the end of that week, the Bite of 87 occurs, which is when during the day shift, one of the animatronics bites Jeremy Fitzgerald's frontal lobe out, technically not killing him because it's mentioned in Five Nights at Freddy's 1 that someone can live without a frontal lobe, but that doesn't mean he lived well or for very long afterwards. I have spring lock failures mentioned here. That doesn't mean directly in 1987.
Nothing? Yeah, me
Whenever
too,
we get to
man.
Five Nights at Freddy's 3,
Pretty
there's a
hungry,
mention
though.
on one of the
Oh, wait, I need to
recorded
lock
tapes
in. I was-
that one of
yeah.
the restaurant
Dude, it's a pizzeria. I fuck with food, but isn't that an awesome personality trait? What are you into? I like food. Yeah, most people don't, right?
was shut down for having several spring lock failures.
After learning of an unfortunate incident at the sister location involving multiple and simultaneous spring lock failures, the company is deemed this is
Hi.
temporarily unfit for employees.
And then finally, on the final night that the original
I love
Freddy
all
Fazbear's
these
Pizza
games.
is opened,
I will
Michael
never
comes to work as the night
play
guard
one,
on night
though.
7 under the
Well, no,
alias
actually,
of Fred Smith
that's
before
not
he is
true.
fired when the place is shut
I
down.
meant, like,
you good?
replay.
Did that all make sense?
Like,
we good? Good, because now I'm on to the first game. No, I'm
Yay.
not kidding. We're now ready to talk about the original Five Nights at Freddy's.
Okay,
Do you
I
see why
actually
this is
do
so
understand,
confusing?
though.
People
No,
give
no, I get it,
creators
I get
like
it.
MatPat and stuff a hard time for this. But like, if you were in it whenever this was happening, you had to just totally guess about everything I just said.
The food, your acid reflux. Fuck. We want a pizza? I could go for a pizza right now.
Because we got rough hints
Fuck,
and
I could
newspaper
go for a
clippings as to
pizza.
what happened. Like, yeah, a lot of the theories got kind of ridiculous and out there, but man, there was so much we were filling in the gaps for. So now we are finally to the events of Five Nights at Freddy's 1 occurring in 1993. In it, a security guard by the name of Mike Schmidt gets a night job at the reopened Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. So last time, I'll go through the restaurants at least for now.
Okay.
We had Fredbear's
Isn't
Family
there, like,
Diner,
a
which is the one
janitor?
where Evan got his
Oh,
head
shit.
chopped and then that shut down.
Almost ripped my
we had
headphones
Fredbear and
off.
Friends, which is the one where Charlie was murdered outside of, and that got shut down.
Rest
we then
in
had Freddy
peace.
Fazbear's Pizza open, which is where 5 children were murdered and one security guard had the front part of his brain taken out, and that was
Ouch.
shut down. And now finally, we have Freddy Fazbear's Pizza reopening and Michael working as the security guard. The reason I'm so confident in saying that Michael is Mike Schmidt is because, for one,
Okay.
Mike's name is Mike. And also, in Five Nights at Freddy's 2 and Five Nights at Freddy's 1, whenever Fritz and Mike are fired, on the pink fire slip, it says that they were fired due to odor. While this probably started out as just a joke in the first one, I think it is enough of a clue in to tell us that this is the same person. And
Okay.
also, it makes the most sense for a storyline. Because if these guys aren't Michael, then in Five Nights at Freddy's 2, some random guy showed up for one night to fight for his life against animatronics and then never showed up again. And then in Five
It'd be
Nights at
kinda
Freddy's 1,
funny,
you
though.
have a guy who is almost being murdered
Just
by
found, like, an Indeed
animatronics
job
every
ad.
night he's working there, but then comes back to work the next day. It only makes sense to me if this
That
is
shit's kinda
Michael who
wild.
is braving these horrors in order to try to right his father's wrongs, or at least figure out what happened to his father. It's like Chekhov's gun. It would be completely pointless to introduce 2 characters who never show up again and have no other plot relevance when you can have one character fill both of those roles and make the story more meaningful. Anyway, it's mentioned by Phone Guy in the original Five Nights at Freddy's that they took the animatronics from the FNAF 2 location, the old decrepit ones, and gave them a remodel, and those are now the animatronics they're using on stage. So, in other words, the animatronics that are possessed by the dead children just got a remodel, and now they're back on stage again. And once again, the reason they are trying to kill you, the player, which is also you, Michael Afton, is because you're
And
dressed
me,
in the security
Fireside
uniform
Horror.
of the man that killed them. And probably since it's Michael,
that's
also
why?
looks a little bit like him too. I also didn't mention this earlier.
I just thought
There's
they
a lot
were
of people who say
angry.
William's real tally
Whoa.
is like 10 children.
That
he
kind of blew my
murdered.
mind.
However, that doesn't show up anywhere in the story.
Oh, yeah, ship the FNAF VR game. That's what I'm playing next.
And the main reason
As long
they
as
say
the
that
epilepsy doesn't
is so
kill me first.
all of the animatronics that try to attack you in Five Nights at Freddy's 2, the toy animatronics and the old ones, are all possessed, so that would make sense. However, it's mentioned by the Phone Guy in Five Nights at Freddy's 2 that the toy animatronics have a facial recognition system that is connected to a criminal database so that they will be able to alert
That's
anyone or
insane.
know if there's any predators among the children. At least that's what Phone Guy says, who's to say they can't also attack people linked to that database. And since the puppet was there at Five Nights at Freddy's 2, remember the one that started all of this, and we know that the puppet can manipulate animatronics, at the very least Charlie put the bodies of the children into the old animatronics so that they'd be possessed. What's to
Okay.
say the puppet didn't change the facial recognition so that they would just kill anyone in a security guard uniform? Again, that would also explain the bite of 87.
That'd be pretty fucked
and
up.
like, especially when you see where the story goes from here, and very specifically where the story ends, it doesn't make any sense if there's like another 5 children whose souls are just out there somewhere. It makes a lot more sense if the only children Michael killed were Charlie, and then the 5 children at the Five Nights at Freddy's 2 location. Also, everyone wants to say in like all the theories I looked at that William killed a bunch of kids down here, I guess because he was in like a silly, goofy mood. Because everyone tries their hardest,
That's kinda
and I'm not
funny.
talking about anyone specifically, this is just like the general air from the community. Everyone tries so hard to make this story as one-dimensional as possible and just say, William, bad, he killed kids here, he killed kids again, and that's it. And while yes, William bad, it is William reason for bad that I think is interesting, and the reason that the story's always intrigued me. His son was
William
killed by his
reason
other
for
son
bad.
using an invention of his own making, and then he lost his mind trying to figure out how his son's soul could be preserved that led to the death of his daughter and then everything afterwards. The story becomes much more interesting.
Hey, Conic the Hedge Cat. Does a popular hose right now for the FNAF 2 series is that they're saying there's a toy Golden Freddy. Is that true? Oh, you're good. I don't understand what you're saying, though. I'm going to let the chat handle that.
When you view this as humans with motives, rather than just insert generic bad guy, kill child, on to scene 2. Anyway, so the events of Five Nights at Freddy's 1 takes place, in which you can see the 4 animatronics, Bonnie, Chica, Foxy, and Freddy coming to kill you, as well as apparitions of Fredbear, known to most of the community as Golden Freddy. Whenever you take into account that Evan could be the spirit inside of Fredbear, it becomes much more impactful whenever Fredbear says, "It's me," to Michael Afton.
It's me.
Because that is Michael's younger brother, who he killed, pointing out to him, "It's me," over and over again before killing him in his office, at least, if you lose the game. But during this entire time, William is released by the police. Again, they have the camera footage of him being the last one seen with the children, but they can't find the bodies and can't pin anything on him. So shortly after the events of the first Five Nights at Freddy's, William goes to Freddy Fazbear's Pizza in order to cover up his evidence. This is the flashback games that we see in Five Nights at Freddy's 3, where William goes into the restaurant and begins disassembling the animatronics. Now, we find out later in Sister Location that he took pieces of those animatronics and then rebuilt them into the framework of the Funtime animatronics. If you'll remember, Circus Baby was one of those, which was this private collection he had made. And now he is disassembling the animatronics that are possessed by the spirits of the children he killed and reassembling them into these animatronics of his own creation. We know that this has to take place after Five Nights at Freddy's 1 because in those flashbacks he completely destroys the original 4 animatronics. And before the events of Five Nights at Freddy's 5, also known as Sister Location. Because in Sister Location, all of the old animatronics have been reassembled by William into these new Funtime animatronics. And based on how these flashbacks end, there's no way he could have done that after the flashbacks. It had to be during. Because at the end of this minigame, we see the souls come out of the animatronics that William had been disassembling and attack William himself. Within the ruins of the derelict Freddy Fazbear's Pizza, William becomes frightened and decides to hide inside of the Spring Bonnie suit. However, if you'll remember, these suits are designed so that the animatronic components can be twisted to the...
Kills all the children by stuffing them in animatronics. Goes into animatronic.
Come on, brother. In order to make room for someone to step into the costume. However, there is a mention in the series that if these suits get old or wet, there is a chance of a spring lock failure. Or in other words, the animatronic components shoot back into place while someone is still wearing it. So as William puts on the old suit in order to shield himself from the children...
Rip. Like, actually ripped, though. That was pretty
He is killed by a spring lock failure. And as the spirits of the children he murdered slip away, William bleeds to death in the now abandoned Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. I don't want to take the timeline back down, and I don't even know how much of this you can see whenever I hang it up. But as you can see here, I have William listed on the bottom as Springtrap. Springtrap is the name that people give Spring Bonnie after William possesses the suit, because the rules still apply. If you die inside of a suit or your body's inside of it, you are now the possessed soul who is controlling that suit. So William now exists as one of these derelict souls controlling Spring Bonnie, again known as Springtrap. In events we see later in the game, someone in control at Freddy Fazbear's Pizza decides to wall up all of the old rooms in the old business locations.
Hello? Dude, that balloon boy will never fucking quit.
Including this. Hello. Work crews will be here most of the day today, constructing a false wall over the old door base.
That someone most definitely has to be Henry. So around 1995, William is entombed in the back room of an abandoned Freddy Fazbear's Pizza, now possessing the suit known as Springtrap. It is at this point that Sister Location or Five Nights at Freddy's 5 takes place. The reason it has to happen here is because William dies, or at least stops living, and starts possessing a suit that has his decomposing corpse in it at the end of these Five Nights at Freddy's 3 minigames. So he couldn't have put the spirits of the dead children or components of their suits into the Funtime animatronics after that happened. And because we see him taking apart the animatronics in those minigames, I'm going to say that he disassembled them and then reassembled them into the Funtime animatronics at the same time. So shortly after William dies and gets walled up into a back room in a Freddy Fazbear's Pizza, Michael decides to go figure out more about what his father was doing. It's there that Michael goes to an underground storage facility that is specifically made for the Fazbear Entertainment rental mental animatronics. The animatronics that are found down there are the Funtime animatronics themselves, including Circus Baby, which at the time is being possessed by Michael's younger sister, Elizabeth. This is where we get a lot of the information that indicates how Elizabeth died, how the Funtime animatronics were made, and stuff I've already mentioned. So, to very briefly describe the events that happened in Sister Location, the Funtime animatronics are essentially trapped in this underground storage facility and want a way out. So in order to do that, Circus Baby tricks Michael into helping them escape. The way Circus Baby ends up doing this is by bringing Michael to something known as a scooping room, which is where a giant machine is located that pulls out the endoskeleton of animatronics and leaves just the skin present. And
Imagine
this is like,
it doing
I know we're
that to
talking about a
you.
series that has
Like,
to do
ow.
with children possessing animatronics and then like devices made to like scoop children into
I
them
guess
and all
no
that.
shit.
But this
Like,
is the
yeah,
most
obviously it
outlandish
would hurt.
detail of the story to me, because I can accept all the possessed, haunting child stuff.
Can
It's
you?
the biology, anatomy,
Oh, thanks for the
survival
sub.
rates that I have a problem with. So it seems that the scooping
ballerina
machine
one?
scoops
Whoa.
Michael, or at least rips a chunk of him out.
Oh yeah, actually, you're right. Fuck that guy. I always come in back. Yes.
And then pieces from all of the Funtime animatronics join together in a creature known as
ballerina's the
Innard.
wife.
Innard is, like I said, all of the Funtime animatronics together in one collective mass. And Innard enters in to Michael somehow. I guess they say that the scooper like ripped out part of his gut, and then Innard crawled into his gut. I don't know. And then Innard, effectively wearing Michael as a skin suit, wears Michael around until his body can't take it, and then Innard leaves. Now, I know there's explanations in the books that have to do with, oh, well, there's this substance that can keep a spirit alive, and it's called remnant, and there's all this weird voodoo stuff. They tried to make possession and all that into a science, like something tangible, and I think that's pretty lame, and it's also not in the video game, so I choose to ignore it. But the short version is all the animatronics combine into Innard, a chunk of Michael is ripped out, Innard goes inside of that until Michael's body can't take it anymore, and Innard leaves, but Michael still survives. So effectively, all of the animatronics are now free and roaming around to do whatever they want to do. This is mentioned in the later games, but shortly after Innard escaped from Michael, because remember, Innard's now a collective consciousness of all of the Funtime animatronics, they kicked out Elizabeth, which is Circus Baby at the time, for some reason. I don't believe it's ever particularly said. Someone can correct me in the comments if I'm wrong. I think it may be because Elizabeth is the daughter of William Afton, the one that killed all of them, so they're not particularly fond of that. Either way, Elizabeth, aka Circus Baby, reassembles her original form out of scrap metal and becomes a kind of junk version of herself known as Scrap Baby. Innard, which again is the collective consciousness of all of the children murdered by William, except for the puppet Charlie, we'll get to her in a minute, decides that the best way to continue survival is to scavenge parts and try to appear as a normal animatronic, or at least a sustainable one. So they do, and Innard converts itself into a creature known as Molten Freddy. And then if you'll look at the timeline, there is
comes with beating the game that you never beat. Okay, that makes sense.
a 30-year gap in time. Like, the events of Sister Location probably happened somewhere around 1995, and then nothing happens until 2023. I don't know of any stories in the series that say they killed anyone during this time period, but having, like, a collective conscious of murdered children roaming around the sewers is probably a bad thing. And it becomes an especially bad thing whenever in 2023 when the events of Five Nights at Freddy's 3 happens. See, by the year 2023, everything that happened on this side had become a local folk legend. It became a big story of, oh, here's the abandoned pizza place where all those children were murdered. So they took an abandoned Freddy Fazbear's Pizza and remade it into a spooky horror attraction known as Fazbear Frights, where at the attraction they get a bunch of old Fazbear Entertainment merchandise and hang it up everywhere in order to give the whole creepy abandoned pizzeria vibe. This is all well and good until the phone guy says that they recovered a full animatronic that was locked up in one of the walled-off back rooms.
But I have an even better surprise for you. You're not going to believe this. We found one. A real one.
And sure enough, that animatronic
Whoa.
they found
Dude,
was
that- I
William
shit my
Afton,
pants
still
when that
alive
happened.
and possessing the animatronic that is carrying his own corpse that for the past 30 years has been stuck in a walled-off room. So the people of Fazbear Frights think this is a great find and decide to set it up as part of the attraction, and that's where bad things happen. Michael gets the security position at Fazbear Frights, again trying to figure out what's going on. Keep in mind 30 years have passed too, so at this point he's a fully grown man who's determined to figure out what his dad did.
Father,
Nope.
it's me,
Oh
Michael.
my god, they sound like the exact
should be
same
dead.
too.
But I'm not. I've been living in shadows. There is only one thing left for me to do now. I'm going to come find you.
You're gonna come?
I'm going to come find you.
You're gonna what? What did he say in slow
And throughout
motion?
the course of Five Nights at Freddy's 3, we get the full story of what happened to William Afton and how he came to possess the Springtrap animatronic, yada yada. Until on the final night of this Fazbear Frights location, it seems that Michael tries to burn down the building with his father in it. However, it doesn't work, and William manages to get free after 30 years of being locked up. So now by the year 2023, we have William, who is running around as the animatronic Springtrap. We have Molten Freddy, which is the collective conscious of all of the children William killed, again, except for Charlie. We have Charlie as the puppet, also running around doing God knows what. And we have Circus Baby, who was kicked out of Molten Freddy and is now existing as her own animatronic. So this is probably bad, having all of them run around doing their own thing, especially now that William's free to do whatever he wants. And it seems that Henry, who at this point has been quiet for a pretty good while in the story, has decided that he's going to do something about it. So Henry opens up a brand new restaurant, Freddy Fazbear's Pizzeria. Opening a restaurant under a title that up until this point, as seen by Fazbear Frights, has some pretty bad blood attached to it. However, Henry doesn't care, and it seems he's just starting another pizza restaurant, to which Michael is immediately hired as security guard. As soon as the restaurant is opened, old animatronics start to show up in the back alley of the restaurant.
There's another aspect to your end-of-day routine, and that is inspecting and salvaging any animatronics found in the alley outside the back door. Things are found here quite often, and while we aren't sure why, what we do know is that they can be used for parts, which can mean a much-needed revenue boost before starting your next day.
These animatronics include Circus Baby, Molten Freddy, and Springtrap, who at the time to all the other workers just seemed to be old decrepit animatronics that it seems somebody threw out or left behind the restaurant in case the restaurant wanted them. As the player, you have the choice in this game, which we're now to Five Nights at Freddy's 6, by the way, of what animatronics you want to bring into the restaurant and put in storage, and which ones you want to throw back outside. While you may have the ability to do what you want, in order to get the correct or full ending of the story, you have to bring all of the animatronics into the building. The game also heavily suggests to you that the purpose of what you're doing is to salvage all the animatronics.
I don't know how those tiny breaths of life came to inhabit those machines, but they will never find rest now, not like this. I have to call them all back, all of them, together in one place.
It seems that the animatronics are interested in whatever it is Henry's doing and have each made their way to the pizzeria one by one. Henry created the pizzeria as essentially bait in order to lure all of them back in. That is, except for one animatronic that Henry knew would not be interested in falling into a trap, and that is the puppet, which is possessed by his own daughter Charlie. To take care of her, Henry built an animatronic known as Lefty, an animatronic built with the sole purpose of catching the puppet animatronic. Again, if you didn't know about all this story or everything happening before, that's like a really weird detail in the later games. But again, here it makes sense because he's trying to get all the animatronics under one roof, and he knew that the puppet would probably be resistant to it, so he made an animatronic specifically to catch her. And then on the final night of the pizzeria, as Michael is being attacked by the animatronics, Circus Baby begins to tell Michael of how she's going to kill him.
You played right into our hands.
Yeah, I do remember
Did
that.
you really think that this job just fell out of the sky for you?
Yes.
No. This was a gift for us. You gathered them all together in one place, just like he asked you to. All of those little souls in one place, just for us. A gift. Now we can do what we were created to do and be complete. I will make you proud, Daddy. Watch, listen, and be full.
Before she is cut off by Henry, now making his presence known. And you know what? Rather than describing what happens next, I'll just let you hear for yourselves.
Connection terminated. I'm sorry to interrupt you, Elizabeth.
They're back.
If you still even remember that name, but I'm afraid you've been misinformed. You are not here to receive a gift, nor have you been called here by the individual you assume, although you have indeed been called.
I always love seeing this
You've all been
again,
called here
especially after knowing
into a
all the
labyrinth of
lore.
sounds and smells, misdirection, and misfortune. A labyrinth with no exit, a maze with
Sounds
no
like the Twilight Zone announcer guy, if you know what that is.
You don't even realize that you are trapped. Your lust for blood has driven you in endless circles, chasing the cries of children in some unseen chamber, always seeming so near,
That is kind of funny that that one mini game had so much lore.
yet somehow out of reach. But you will never find
Oh, that's Henry on the recorder. Okay. For some reason, I was thinking it was... No, I understand. Okay, I mixed Michael and Henry up there.
them. None of you will. This is where your story ends. And to you, my brave volunteer, who
Ooh,
somehow found this job
thank
listing
you.
not intended for you,
See, I'm too locked in. I got my thinking cap on. I'm not in scare mode today. If Wendigoon decides to jump scare me, soul's leaving my body. By the way, this is a good time to say, going back to Minecraft horror stuff this weekend, and usually that shit's like fun, you know, but dude, it scared the absolute fuck out of me. Like, you're gonna hear me pretty much like how these streams have been going. I actually get jump scared and yell. I don't know if I'm becoming more of a pussy because I'm getting close to dementia age, but either way, thank you, Questionable. I love you.
Well, there was a way out planned for you. I have a
Yes, it is the mod from the caves, and it made me piss my fucking pants.
feeling that's not what you want. I have a feeling that you are right where you want to be. I am remaining as well. I am nearby. This place will not be...
I need to know if I'm crazy. Like, I have like an uncanny similarity to Wendigoon. I need to go ask my fiance, actually. Maybe we're actually twins and I didn't know.
Remembered, and the memory of everything that started this can finally begin to fade away, as the agony of every tragedy should. And to you monsters trapped in the corridors, be still.
Monsters. Haha, suck it, circus baby.
For most of you, I believe there is peace, and perhaps more, waiting
too,
for
Freddy.
you after the smoke clears. Although for one of you, the darkest pit of hell has opened to swallow you whole, so don't keep the devil waiting, friend. My daughter, if you can hear me, I knew you would return as well. It's in your nature to protect the innocent. I'm sorry that on that day, the day you were shut out and left to die,
You don't know what I look like?
no
Yes,
one
that
was
is
there to lift
true.
you up into their arms,
That
where
is-
you
that
lifted
is
others into
accurate.
yours. And then what became of you? I should have known you wouldn't be content to disappear. Not my daughter. I couldn't save you then, so let me save you now. It's time to rest for you and for those you have carried in your arms. This ends for all of us.
So is
in
this supposed
communication.
to be the finale then? And then they just
And with
continued
that,
it?
we have the end of the Five Nights at Freddy's series. Almost. See, there's one extra
Wait, the Darkest Pit of Hell is Ultimate Custom Night? That's canon? That's actually fucking hilarious. I actually
game
love
of the
that.
series, known as Ultimate Custom Night. And for
Oh,
any
are you-
outsider
is he
looking
about to
in,
say?
it looks like just a bonus mode. It's just one night, and you can choose any of the animatronics from the series, set them to whatever difficulty you want, and then based on how hard of a difficulty you complete each of the challenges, you're given these kind of goofy cutscenes. It seems just like a fun free play mode, right? Well,
That-
every now
there's
and then,
nothing
whenever you're
fun
killed by
about
one of
that.
the animatronics in Ultimate Custom Night, they give you a kind of threatening message that seems directed to you, the person.
You won't
Interesting.
die, but you'll wish you could.
I recognize you, but I'm not afraid of you.
Oh, I see. So, yeah,
It
Grim
seems
Guy
like there's more going on
William
here. There's a
Afton,
character
okay.
in the name known as Old Man Consequences. And if you change
That's
the settings to where
hilarious.
it's just Old Man Consequences that you're going up against, you'll be taken to a sort of pristine lake where you're controlling a sprite
Whoa.
that looks like Fredbear, to which Old Man Consequences tells Fredbear, leave the demons to the demons and rest your own soul. It seems like this Ultimate Custom Night is William Afton's personal hell. And not only
Yeah.
that, but it is being curated
That's
by the
crazy.
spirit within Fredbear. If you'll remember, Evan and Cassidy are both within Fredbear itself. And whenever William dismantled all of the...
Wait, that means that guy we
animatronics
watched last stream beat hell. That's got to be canon.
in order to put them into the Funtime animatronics,
FNAF World? What the fuck is FNAF World?
which eventually became Molten Freddy, it was left very ambiguous.
I mean,
if
I
Golden
can
Freddy
assume
was
it's
among
another
those who were
game, I
captured.
assume.
So if it's true that Golden Freddy was not brought into the fold of Innard, that would mean that after Henry burnt the pizzeria and made all of them pass to the other side, that Golden Freddy was exempt from that. Or if Golden Freddy was a part of Innard and was burned up in the pizzeria, then it seems like both of the souls in Golden Freddy, or one of the souls in Golden Freddy, doesn't want to let go. Now, there's a lot of evidence to say that this spirit that is torturing Michael is the spirit of Cassidy, the other one
Thank you.
possessing Fredbear along with Evan. The reason for that is some of the animatronic voice lines
I
in
almost
Ultimate
corrected him. He beat me to it.
Custom Night refer to the one you should not have killed. And that couldn't be Evan because William didn't necessarily kill Evan, Michael killed Evan.
Indirectly.
However, I really want it to be Evan who's torturing William for eternity. Because not only would that be very poetic, as Evan was the first child dead that started everything, and now he's the last child who's still holding on to torturing his own father, but it also makes...
Wait, Shipmaster, are you saying FNAF VR is the second hardest compared to Ultimate Custom Night? Way too much grinding in FNAF world. Respect.
It's a story so much more personal that Evan, who was forced to live in this hell over and over again because, as his father said, he put him back together, is now forcing his father to endure what Evan and so many others had to endure as well. Either way, the spirit within Fredbear is still holding on and forcing William to endure their own torment rather than passing on to the other side. And if you manage to complete Ultimate Custom Night on nearly the hardest difficulty, you get a final end screen of Fredbear just sitting there, twitching as the camera fades out. Is this a representation that Fredbear is going to continue to fight and torture?
Oh, lore timeline. I get it.
Or is the fading away symbolic
Thank
of
Christ.
Fredbear finally letting go? Who's to say? But what I will say is that completes the Five Nights at Freddy's timeline.
Yay.
Probably, maybe. A lot of this was guesswork and speculation, but that's pretty much on par for the series. So,
what did he... I don't remember him ever saying anything he said was controversial.
And was to have this video as it is.
Am I crazy? Did I just not pay attention
just
to that?
keep talking and run into the VHS tapes. My plan was also to make this Five Nights at Freddy's lore section like 20, 30 minutes. And
holy shit, really?
This is not that. So while I normally
How did
would
he
just
think
say,
he was
I don't
do
care about
that?
making a 4 or 5 hour long video,
Hardest is
I think
FNAF
it
2.
would be a discredit
Okay.
to the creators of...
What do I think? FNAF 2 was really hard. See, Pizzeria Simulator was like really fucked too, but with that one, as long as you are really patient and do the strat, not much thinking. You just kind of have to keep the order up. Whereas FNAF 2, you had to like actually think about all the shit going on. I'm gonna agree with that. FNAF 2.
The VHS tapes like Squimpus, McGrimpus, and whatnot. If I put the VHS tapes now after what's this going to be like an hour and a half, 2 hours?
Now, if I didn't have that strategy Logan sent, then I would definitely say Pizza Sim is the worst by far. But the fact that that one strategy that you just kind of have to loop exists. Man, I don't know. Maybe it's the recency effect. It's been so long since I did FNAF 2. I'm just like, it wasn't that bad. I don't know. We'll see.
Hours of video, and then start talking about their content.
Well, I watched the
because
music
their
videos.
content's really cool. And I want to give it the attention it deserves. Not, okay, go watch me talk for an hour and a half, and then I'll talk about those guys. And also, a lot of people wanted to see the FNAF timeline, or my take on it anyway, so this wasn't like lost time at all. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to just upload this video as it is, just like the
oh my
Five
god.
Nights at Freddy's
Wait. Ultimate custom speed.
story.
That's part of the lore.
Then, right after I get done recording this, because I already have all the notes and stuff put together for the VHS
What
tapes.
is this?
I'm
It
just-
has nothing to do with FNAF. Alright, thanks, Wendigoon. What do people think? That is a badass line. Poor Evan, first child killed. Okay. Oh, hey, look, that looks familiar. Ooh, okay, so I'm guessing I'm going to have to watch this eventually as well. Yeah, I can do that. Okay, here's what we're going to do now. We are going to go to just chatting. I am going to go into the Discord, and I am going to... I'm sorry, did you just send me the spinning cat?
Skilled techs. That could be you. Train at Universal Technical Institute and learn to service industrial.
I think every FNAF game has had me stretched out, stressed out. Holy shit, there's no way I just said stretched out. Holy fuck. Oh, man. Damn, bro. That shit is crazy. Alright, let's find these FNAF music videos so we can cringe together. FNAF music. Do not spoil me. I will be pissed. I mean, I'm not going to know what's going on. All FNAF songs. Yeah, I think that'll work. 189 videos? 3,000 views per hour? Are you fucking shitting me? Hold on, let me put the screen back. Oh, it's in our DMs. Yeah, why did I not look at that, actually? I Can't Fix You, Living Tombstone, one of my favorite songs. Okay, okay. Alright, I see that in this playlist, so I'm gonna put the screen back. There we go. 3 is the easiest. I agree with that. I actually think 3 was one of the most effective ones too. Just to throw that out there. Alright, now please, please do not copyright strike me. I put this song right here, Join Us for a Bite. The reason it says I played it is I added it to my short of cooking the Five Nights at Freddy's pizza, and they copyright struck my channel. So let's hope that doesn't happen. Living Tombstone. I hear this is the band, and I saw it in Arabic. I didn't do that. Did I do that? What? Why is it defaultly in Arabic? Is that... Is that part of the lore too? Much seeing stuff about the Universal thing I went to. So I've heard little snippets of some of these just with people doing that. Okay, I need to point this out. This was like incredibly like unexpected, okay? So when I went to the Universal thing, they had 10 haunted houses. Most popular one was Five Nights at Freddy's for sure. Took the longest to get through. Terrifier might have been closely even. Fuck you, Art the Clown. Please don't kill me. But the thing is, I kind of expected, like, no, there's no kids there, right? Like, there's not really any kids, but the only people dressed up for Five Nights at Freddy's was all, like, women around my age, like, mid-20s, maybe early 20s, too. All, like, cosplaying or loosely dressed as the 4 main animatronics. Only women. Not a single man. And they're all, like, attractive, too. Like, I'm sitting here streaming Five Nights at Freddy's, and I just assumed to be a bunch of, like, kind of, what you'd expect people to dress up as FNAF, right? Like, you know, you got kind of a big gut, not looking so good. It's been a couple of years since he showered. But no, all attractive 20-something-year-old women in groups dressed as FNAF. Singing these songs in the line, too, by the way. So I'm going to leave you with that. I'm making $5 an hour, bro. What do you think? Oh, by the way, I counted, right? So I was there from 7:30 p.m. until like 2:15 in the morning, I think, right? Just running haunted house after haunted house. And, dude, like, I kid you not, I counted 75 women dressed as a Five Nights at Freddy's animatronic. Not like literally with like a suit, but like color-coded, makeup, shit on their head as the ears. I'm still blown away. I should have dressed his cheeks. Nostalgia. Oh, before you go, let's do one more thing. You're gonna want to see this questionable, so dang, I haven't used that in forever. Let's go to here. So I'm gonna come back to the song. I am actually enjoying it, by the way. What I want to do is, what the fuck is that? Sorry, you'll what the fuck is that? Oh, it's a Wendigoon video? Let me bookmark that for later. But anyway, I'm going to pull up a walkthrough of the Five Nights at Freddy's haunted house I went to. You guys have to see this shit. Also, because I'm seeing these songs as an adult man, they're not cringe to me either. I am also, like, streaming Five Nights at Freddy's after my 9 to 5, so, like, you would need to try a little harder than that. Let's see, what's a good video? Attractions 360? That sounds like a good one. Check this shit out. Like, this shit is so cool. Give me the highest fucking quality you have, buddy. And this was the only one that didn't stink. The Terrifier one actually did smell like dead bodies and shit. I kid you not, they actually had shit on the walls. But anyway. Yeah, this was so sick. You weren't allowed to record though, so like nobody on their phones. I think they did like some media night where you could go and record. Oh, I'm guessing that music is copyright. They're singing, by the way. Dude, that was so sick. I was fucking losing it when I saw that. Yeah, that song's definitely copyright. Rip, bro. Okay, I'm not gonna sit here and do this whole thing. But like, dude, this is so sick. They had the dead kids, now I understand the lore. That's the dead Foxy kid. Look at that. Chica's bitch ass. Why is he jump cutting, I wonder? This shit was so sick. This is the first haunted house I did too. It was such a good way to start it. Okay, there is one part though I need you guys to see. And when we get there, I'm gonna pause it and point it out. It looks so fucking sus. Oh dude, this was crazy. When I stopped here and it was the fucking FNAF 1 security thing, that was insane seeing that shit in real life. Because the cameras, you could actually see the cameras, like the real feed. Yeah, the animatronics look so good. It was wild. There's like one part, not to spoil, where like Foxy sprints at you down a hallway, and it looks so good. I think it might be coming up soon. Oh yeah, this part. Are they gonna show it? Is it gonna do it? Oh, was it broken during this video? No! What the fuck just happened? What the fuck just happened? If it's not broken, this Foxy, you can see the track down there in the video, like, sprints at you with the lights flashing. Okay, it's not, it might be this room right here, this janitor's closet. No, not yet, okay. Oh, this is where they made the animatronics. Yeah, look. Dude, it was so crazy walking up to that. They got the Beta 87 on the fucking wall. Now, why did they not put MatPat in this haunted house, though? Can we talk about that? Hi, Freddy. Dude, I want to go back. Okay, I'm going to break the illusion, though. The wait time for this haunted house is 130 minutes. And I paid $200 for a fast pass and still waited 30 minutes in line. Yeah, the actors are taking out of it. Yeah, it was better in person. Kind of. This guy, like, comes up to you and gets grabbed by Bonnie. Tell me what you think this looks like. Oh, they shut the lights off. Yeah, watch this. Oh, you know what? I think the actors are doing it differently, and the animatronics are different, probably because this is like the recording night in the beginning. Because some of this is different. But I think they're trying to make it look better for the camera. And they have like all the Foxies off for some reason. It's so weird. Okay, I think this is towards the end. Yeah, I think this is the end. Yeah. Oh wait, no. There's one more. Our favorite. The goat! Let's eat William Afton's asshole. Can I get a bib that says that? speaking of William Afton, yeah, dude, Springtrap did look good. Okay, now back to it. My bad. Gang recognizes
Hello guys, and
gang.
welcome to the Media Nights. My name
What
is
the
Ari.
fuck?
I'm Denise.
And today we're gonna.
It was kind of a nice change though, because like the Five Nights at Freddy's house was absolutely fucking sick, just because I love seeing it. And then I went in the Terrifier house next, and it was absolutely fucking disgusting. Like the one lady gets like, I don't even know if I can say that on YouTube, in a bed. Someone gets sawed in half, coochie first. That was crazy. And they're like spraying blood on you. And then somebody actually got crucified with Christmas lights in a Christmas section. The fuck is wrong with people, man? Alright, see you, Questionable. Thanks for stopping by. Not gonna make you cringe out too hard. What just... Oh, I mean F1. That was goated. Dude, I want to get to the Join Us for a Bite one. Where is that? No, it's not FNAF 2 because it'd have to be sister locations.
Imagine being able to build an app with your name on it, just by thinking about it. Meet Base 4.
Well, they really like went crazy in this one. So many less views in quotes, 135 million. Oh. Oh, it's the credits. What's this? Oh, it's about okay, I got you. Alright. Join us for a bite time. And if it does flash, I'm just closing my fucking eyes. Alright. Finale time. I'm not copyright striked yet, so
deep down.
Is this the one? Is this what I'm talking about? Or is this what you're talking about? This Okay, but I'm ready to close my eyes very quickly why it did so well. Okay, that is going to be it for today. Thank you so much, everybody, for watching. I will see you on Thursday, and have a fantastic rest of your night. Also, those are some goated fucking songs.